Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Tim, and thank you so much for stopping by Second Legacy, the joint channel between Tim and I. You've seen us on our own individual channels, but we came together to collaborate on Second Legacy to offer something to the table to bring other people to the fold along with you so we can pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation. Now, if you are new and you haven't seen us before, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and making sure you turn that notification bell on. We would love to have you help us grow this channel. We are really excited about this and think it'd be something really, really great, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. But today's content that Tim and I are going to dive into, I know this is so far-fetched, you guys would never believe that the left and the gun controllers would ever hold classes on how to violate federal law or get around it at least. They wouldn't do that, would they? Yeah, well, that's what we're going to talk about. So, Tim, take it away.
I said, no, never. I mean, no. The anti-gunners are such stand-up folks. It's not like they would ever try to circumvent your rights or federal law to strip you of said rights. Yeah. Wow. So let's kick this off with number one, Mr. Producer, if you'd throw that up on the screen for us. An anti-gun group launches legal training on how to sue gun companies. Now, this presents a problem on a couple of different fronts. And so the group that they're talking about is the Brady United Against Gun Violence. And if you throw up number two, Mr. Producer, we can kind of break down what it is that they're doing here a little bit. Continuing the legal education, CLE, is the mandatory training lawyers must take after they pass their bar. The classes that attorneys take can vary. The gun control group Brady United Against Gun Violence has now launched CLE courses that teaches lawyers how to sue firearms manufacturers. And this is coming from ammoland.com. And so we have a law in place. I believe it was passed in 2005, and it's called the PLCAA, or the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. And basically what this does is protects gun manufacturers from being frivolously sued. And this is to protect them so that they don't have to worry about being sued for the misdeeds that others may do using their products. So think of it this way. If you buy a Chevrolet, well, we're in 2023, a Volt, and you buy your new Volt and you're driving down the road at 95 miles an hour, drunk as a skunk, and you run into another car and hurt somebody, you can't, or somebody else can't go back and sue Chevy for your misuse of their product. Now, they can come after you for your drunken driving and your behavior, but generally speaking, manufacturers of items aren't going to get sued for the misuse of those items. But when you're talking about firearms, boy, the anti-gunners love this concept, so much so that in 2005, they had to pass a law that would stop the practice. However, and this is actually in the AmmoLand article, it says the PLCAA is a 2005 law meant to protect firearms manufacturers and gun dealers from lawsuits over the use, in this case, misuse, of its products. The companies can still be sued for defective products, breach of contract, criminal misconduct, and other actions, such as selling a gun they knew would be used in a crime. Okay, so that's the basis of the law. But what the Brady Bunch is trying to do in this instance is teach lawyers how to go around your rights, how to go around this law, and from a rearward attack, come after you, or actually the manufacturers, and deny you your Second Amendment rights by suing these companies into oblivion. They were successful in doing this with Remington, who owned Bushmaster, going back to Sandy Hook. They went after Bushmaster around the 2005 law and went after them for their marketing practices and how they marketed their firearm. And this put the financial squeeze on Remington and ultimately contributed to their downfall and being parted out and sold to other companies. So they've had some success in doing this. And in my opinion, this violates the spirit of the federal law. And this is just another end run around your rights, to deny you your rights using, or in this case, misusing the legal system to do it.
Oh, absolutely. That's very well said. And before I get too deep into this segment even further, I would like to commend you on your use of environmentally friendly analogies. I appreciate that. Let's keep that going forward. But as we're talking about this, guys, understand the very fact that we had to pass a law in Congress not ATF executive rule interpretation, passed a law called the Protective Lawful Commerce and Arms Act to protect protect gun companies from falling victim to frivolous lawsuits which would bankrupt them. That's gun control in a de facto backdoor effort. The entire point here is not common sense gun regulation. The whole point here is to sue them out of existence. Because if you look at what the left is consistently saying, their talking points, let's see, they've got banned assault weapons. That didn't work out too well. Weapons of war don't belong on our streets. Then they go common sense gun regulation. None of those three main hitting points that they consistently do have anything to do with suing gun companies out of existence. There's a disconnect there. You can't say you're for gun safety if your entire purpose of circumventing federal law is to actually bankrupt companies on their marketing practices, which we are seeing consistently over and over and over again. From the Remington case to you even saw the Daniel Defense case, that's also the angle they went with, marketing. It's always marketing because it's a subjective term, and that's where they're trying to go. They're trying to bankrupt and achieve gun control through bankruptcy. That's the move here. Now, to Tim's point, this is extremely, extremely unethical. You're not only attempting to circumvent a law and stating the purpose of circumventing a law, you're actually holding classes for other lawyers to circumvent a law but still respect the law. I don't know how they get away with this legally if you are openly saying, here's how you pursue this while skirting around these laws but still get the settlement you're chasing through marketing tactics. That's real dirty.
It is, but that's how the anti-gunners play historically. When they're frustrated in the federal system, when they can't get laws passed to achieve their political goals, then they start getting, as this article calls it, creative in how they're going to come after your constitutionally protected rights. And if this was anything other than firearms, if we were talking about the Fourth Amendment and being secure in your persons and property and things like that, and you had a group out there going to universities and teaching lawyers how to get around the Fourth Amendment and basically jam you up in the court systems through a back door, people would be going crazy over it, saying, you can't do this. You would have MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all of them saying, hey, look at what they're doing here. This is unethical. This isn't right. And yet, when it happens to the 2A community, nobody really cares. Nobody really talks about it. Right. It's not even newsworthy when you get out of the realm of 2A related blogs and websites and news sources. So this isn't something you're typically going to see on the mainstream media being discussed because they just want it to happen in the background because they silently support this agenda.
Yep. And it's funny because when you start getting on a roll like that, I just say yep so many times because you're just nailing all the points I'm going to hit. But it's just... This is where it's important for what we're doing in this conversation, right? So the way that Tim and I look at this and the way that we look at Second Legacy is this is a conversation starting piece. This is something that we bring some information to light, provide some context and some points on, and then we go out and disseminate that information amongst ourselves, amongst you guys and your friends, either sharing the videos or taking those points to the next conversation or taking action politically to get the right people in the right places. We just saw a taste of this, and this is how you fight this. With the whole McCarthy speakership fight that we had about a month ago, 2 months ago, all the things that were achieved in that entire thing, from the rhinos exposing themselves, calling them traitors, to terrorists, to all of these different pieces, what ended up coming out of that was a subcommittee on the weaponization of government against Americans. Lauren Boebert goes to town. Thomas Massey goes to town. A lot of representatives went to town on the ATF for the pistol brace rule. And look where that's brought us. 25 attorneys general have sued the ATF, or at least joined in a suit to the ATF. Another one is in Texas with Ken Paxton. This is becoming possible because the information is getting out there and you're motivating others to do things, including your representatives. And that's an incredibly important piece of what we're talking about here is, yes, they are going around behind the doors. Are they going to gun control? Yeah, gun controllers are going to gun control. But how we respond and get in front and circumvent them and their moves around laws, that's what's so key because you have more power than they want to tell you do.
Absolutely. And hopefully, it's unfortunate that we have to keep fighting this battle, but we need to work to elect the right people, send them to Congress, and get the right people in the White House, the House and the Senate, so that we can go back and pass another law that stops this unethical practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly the original law of 2005 didn't go far enough. It left the door wide open for the Brady Bunch to come in and do this. And again, if it was, with regards to any other constitutionally protected right, this would cause an uproar across, media outlets. But because we're dealing with the Second Amendment, this is just going to, go on and on and on until we step up to the plate and we put a stop to it. And so we have to have long-term memories, because it's all too easy to get bogged down in the moment. And then when we finally get a favorable House, Senate, and White House, we have to remember to come back to these topics and say, hey, do you remember what they pulled in 23? We have to address this and address this now. And, I think that's where things like Second Legacy come into being. It's going to fall upon us. So Braden, remember this.
I'll try my hardest.
We need to put it on our calendars. And so we can revisit this maybe in 24, because we really need to keep everybody motivated, and folks need to be self-motivated to be, on their toes, so that we can, when we have the opportunity, we can go back into the system and get these laws passed so that we can once and for all, hopefully, but that's a bit of a pipe dream, but put a stop to this stuff. We can't just let this happen. We can't just complain about it online and then 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, not take action on it. We really have to keep this in the forefront of our minds, along with other issues, so that we can fight these battles when we have the numbers to succeed.
Oh, absolutely. Could not agree more. Preach. So the thing that's so powerful about what you just said was, if you look back, and Tim, you have a firsthand experience on this, right? And we're kind of getting away from the training to get around the gun laws, but that was kind of the catalyst of this conversation. If you look at your personal experience through YouTube, because you've had a YouTube channel longer than I have, it is a completely different landscape than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You have so many different outlets and different personalities and different approaches to the same kind of covering of content and activism. We have everything. It's really a beautifully set table. And that's one of the most powerful things about what we can do, is because we have our library archives. Hey, we remember when we covered this back last year? And then we can have a conversation based off what we covered, and then use that going forward during election time. And that's actually one of the things I'm most excited about, is we have this infrastructure. And like I said, if it's different, if it's the same, you tell me. But I see a powerful infrastructure that has been developed for just this purpose.
Absolutely. And of course, we've had to fight for our very existence on platforms like YouTube. But fortunately, at least for now, with Second Legacy, we've kind of been able to not be affected, like with the recent flap at YouTube where they were striking gun channels for various things. Second Legacy wasn't a part of that assault on the Second Amendment community on YouTube. So hopefully going forward, now we did get that resolved. And, even though the rules have changed a little bit, at least the interpretation of them are kind of pulling an ATF move at YouTube, aren't they? But,
yeah, about
but,
that.
We do have a new set of rules we have to play by over, at least on the Military Arms channel. But here at Second Legacy, hopefully, and other, YouTube channels that talk about individual liberties, talk about constitutional rights and things like the Second Amendment, we have a beautifully set table, as you said, so that we can, as a group, as a community, we can go out there and bring these things to the forefront when it's time to do so. And it's critical, I think, and it's incumbent upon all of us to do just that. So hopefully we stick to our guns, purposely
so
said
to
that,
speak.
And
so to speak.
and we actually do that.
I'm gonna stick to my electronic vehicle that was previously mentioned, the Volt. Just to be,
can we say gun?
All encompassing.
Firearm.
You will.
Boomstick? Noisemaker.
Boomstick?
Smoke wagon?
No.
Okay.
Arquebus. I've told you. Arquebus. That's the one. Arquebus.
Punt.
Yeah.
Punt gun. Arquebus. Oh, I said gun.
Exactly.
Can't say gun.
No, you can't say that.
Say Gatling. You know who Gatling was, right? All right. So
we can say Browning.
Yeah. John Moses Browning. We can say Moses still, at least for now. But anyway, okay, guys, we got a little bit off on a tangent there, having a good time, but we do enjoy having a good time here because, look, even though the topics we talk about are quite serious, we need to have, a more jovial approach to things, because it seems that we can get bogged down in the 2A community with negativity. And it's just something that's, that's been dumped on us because we're under constant attack. We're under attack from the Brady Bunch and from lawyers and from all this stuff and from, representatives in DC and even at the state level. we're always feeling this pressure. We always have to wake up in the morning and look at our phones and see if some law passed that makes us a criminal. And so it's very easy to get stuck in that negativity. But guys and gals, the reality is we're winning, and we're winning slowly and through incrementalism. The same tool that's being used against us, the incrementalism, Absolutely. It took us 100 years for the anti-gunners to get to where they are. But it's going to take us time to unravel the mess that they've made for us. And we are making that progress. We are getting there. And we've talked about that previously here on Second Legacy, so I'm not going to go into it again. But what I want to do before we sign off for the day is urge everybody to become politically active. That's the least you can do. Join a Second Amendment group like Gun Owners of America or some other group. It doesn't have to be GOA. But it's important that we become politically active and stay politically active, because that is how we maintain our liberties in the United States. And with that being said, until the next episode, please stay free, and we'll talk to you soon.